good. I'm
Let me
blessed.
ask you a question then. How does the world these days look differently for women than it did maybe, let's say, even 5 years ago, 10 years ago? How are women being impacted by the world today?
Oh, women, let me tell you, they want to take us back 60, 70 years. And they're putting a lot of policies in the United States in place because it fits an agenda. And they want to take they've already, you pro choice or people have a choice in this world. They've taken that right in a lot of states for you to be able to show up. They don't feel that, people have this thought that Christians, and I say it loosely because I believe in God, a higher power source. So please, but they have more control over our minds and our thoughts than we should of our own bodies as women. They want to take back some of our rights to speak up when it comes to an agenda that doesn't fit the patriarchal system. Why should we? And a lot of women are aligned with this because they're going with Christian nationalism and that belief system instead of human rights. So just thinking about how many people have lost, women have lost their jobs, especially black women in the DC area. So that's taking us back, meaning that we don't have the monies to be independent, to stand on our own, because now somehow we're dependent on someone else again. So a lot of ways we're reverting back to the 70s and the 60s when we weren't allowed to have bank accounts and property. If we have that, why do we have so much? Why do we need so much? But my question is, why for not?
I look at the world today, 2025. I look at it and then I refer back to, let's say, 2018, right before the pandemic hit. To me, Toronto, Canada, it seems like two different worlds, and it's only been 7 years. I look back at 2023 when we came out of it was different than it is today, and definitely than it was different in 2018. You mentioned what women are going through. Do you see women losing hope these days?
No, I don't think they're losing hope, but they are concerned because as long as it's like anything to me, you are in a place where you have seen better days. You have been able to enjoy them. So now to try to put you in this box, women aren't going to stand the same way. They aren't going to allow. Is it disappointing? Yes. But I don't think they're losing hope. To me, they're building a strength that they didn't even know that they had or needed because we're just stronger than just what's in front of us because we see a larger picture. Do we have disappointments? Yes. But it's so much bigger than that.
In the workplace, a lot of women are making progress in different ways if you compare it over the decades, right?
Yes.
Um, and this is good in a lot of ways because it shows that men and women can come together and still have healthy environments if they both work together to do so. Obviously, there's still a lot of area of growth in both aspects, right? From the male perspective and the woman's perspective. What are some of the obstacles that women are facing in their life, which is impacted them at the workplace, and maybe even vice versa?
Well, I'm going to say is in their personal lives, when they don't have enough money, when they're struggling to make food, put food on the table, and they're taking care of children, or even if they're in a relationship, there still causes stress, which causes you to show up differently inside the workplace. If you're afraid you might lose your job because the powers that be, especially if you're in a government job, you don't know what day or what hour is going to change because of the leadership. So now that puts undue pressure on you to perform, give more, show up more than you actually have to because of fear. It puts pressure on you when you go home because you're doing all the things and twisting yourself into a pretzel. You're like a transformer. You're transforming all the time. You're never allowing yourself just to be and to show up. So the way the world is putting pressure on human beings, not even just women, just human beings in itself, it's sad because it's creating hostile work environments, putting people against each other instead of showing up together and allowing the world to grow and allowing the companies. The companies suffer just as much as, say, the workers, because now you think about it, they're losing good, talented people, or you're burning out. And I'm not a fan of the word burnout. Let me say that because it's us not being able to pace ourselves, allowing the outside world to show up more for, we're showing up more for the outside world than ourselves. So learning how to pace ourselves, learning how to say no and to put boundaries in place and stop looking for outside validation. That's part of it. But for us as humans, the pressures of what's going on in this world around us affects us inside and outside. And you think about jobs that were primarily male dominated, that women are now having to come into because they need to make this money. They need to help at home. These are facts. These isn't something, oh, well, your husband should have, or this, or your mate should have. This is us as a human race. Things are expensive. You think about the monies it's charging, the tariffs, the this, the that, the expense. A person has to work. And now these men are seeing these women coming in these jobs that are have been conditioned to think that women have a certain place and can't have a job, and they giving aggressive behaviors toward them. So now they coming into these jobs, they're going, oh my God, I'm here to make this money, and this man is speaking over me, talking over me, doesn't want me to learn anything. Just, and if I say no to going to get coffee because that's what he thinks I'm supposed to do, I might not have a job. So the pressure is real. But is it a lack of hope? No. They just happen to figure it out. And I think they're seeking that, and they're seeking community, and they're seeking love, and they're seeking that way of the world used to be. So since you already know what it could be, you're in search of it.
Could then that lead to maybe people experiencing a loss of identity from who they were to who they're becoming because they have to adapt to the changing conditions?
I think people are always figuring it out. I don't think we know who we are from the very beginning, but I think this gives them a let me think of how I want to say it. It gives them basically a place to really focus in now. Like, what's going on? Why am I? They give them a way to ask a question. So to me, this is an opening of a door for them to figure it out. Losing identity, if they never know who they were in the beginning, they can't lose that. And if they do, guess what? It's a good thing. They peeling all that layers of what society, what your mommy, your auntie, your daddy, your teacher told you, and now you're figuring out who and what you want and where you're supposed to be for you.
There's a woman I knew. She was very career oriented. She pushed, and she pushed. And what happened is when she was able to achieve a certain level of income that she wanted, because now she's able to fuel the lifestyle that she always wanted, maybe from a little girl. Maybe her mom and dad couldn't give her this lifestyle, and she decided to say that, Samantha Terrain, I want to be this. So I'm going to work my butt off to achieve it. She was able to achieve the income she wanted. She was able to get that lifestyle she wanted. But what happened is she started to get sick. Her hands started to feel numb. Her legs got numb because she wasn't able to achieve the income and the lifestyle working 8 hours a day. She had to work the 10, she had to work the 12, she had to work the 14. And what happened to her outside of her health being impacted, her emotional health was impacted. She just couldn't connect with people. And I share this story because it seems so many men and women will chase a lifestyle, chase maybe even a dream to their own detriment. Do you see people giving up a lot just to achieve something that once they have it, they begin to realize, oh, is this it?
I think that's part of life. We all do. We all chasing something. We are. You think about it. Every day you wake up, you going, especially if you have goals and dreams, you're going for it. And every time you reach that goal, guess what? You're creating a new one. Are some people doing the most in a way that isn't healthy for them because they don't know another way and they're not allowing themselves to explore that? Yes. But we all chasing something. We all running after something. And we get to decide. And I think we forget that there's choices because we weren't given. I've said this to someone recently. If you don't know any other way but to run forward, that's the way you're going to go after your dreams. But when you funnel and you learn that it's so much more, and that depends on who you're with, who you're hanging out with, who you're surrounding yourself with, then it opens up so many other avenues. But it's about our learnings and our teaching and expanding. And yes, I've worked, child, please, I have worked 18 hours, 20-hour days. And it wasn't because I was chasing something. Did I want that extra dollar? Did I want that extra time off that I was working for? Yes, I did. And yes, I do. But what I realized, it doesn't have to be this way. It's the balance in it. And learning that balance is key. Being able to say, no, it's enough right here for right now. And maybe it's another way. Because when we don't can't see any other way but one way, what good are we to ourselves and to the rest of the world?
Samantha, when you were chasing that lifestyle back then, what was your definition of happiness then
Mm.
versus what it is now?
My definition of happiness was having enough. I was a different woman. Even though I still like fashion, I still love this, I still love that. It didn't control me then, but I realized what was so much more important was my happiness. And it wasn't even just my happiness because I was happiness. Now you have me thinking here. It was more so me wanting, I was keeping up with other folks. That's that's to be very honest with you and myself because I can have all the things and still not be happy. But I was happy, and in that happiness, I still wanted what I saw around me instead of being satisfied.
And that's why I asked that question because I was thinking that because I went through something similar where I would say I was happy, but my happiness was from external factors.
Yes.
As I got older, I began to realize that I was giving power into people, places, and things outside of me. But then when I found happiness within myself, I realized it was more long lasting. And it was easier to achieve. I didn't have to please anyone. And it goes back to, I think we talked about this in one of our previous interviews, was there's no time for people pleasing. I
Mm-mm.
didn't have toxic or chaotic people around me. There was no more drama, and I didn't have to go to Mary J. Blige to hear the song anymore, right?
It's the truth, though. Your music changes, your people change, your dreams change, everything around you changes. It's craziness. Because I got my own podcast. So I just had this conversation with one of my guests. Her and I was talking about it when we're running after what's really for us and we're seeking what's seeking us. You don't show up the same way. You don't walk the same way. And the people that you allow in your life, the people that you say surround yourself with, that you interact with, you're growing. You know what I'm saying? You're like, ooh, is that a new poem, or that's more fulfilling to your soul? Is that a new book you're reading? Is that a new exercise? Is that something different? So you're filled differently. Your cup is overflowing with a different type of self-love, self-care, self-joy. That's what happens.
Why do you think some people maybe push back against that new type of life when they're face to face with it?
Oh, but they don't know any better. When you don't know better, and you're not seeking better, and this is all you're surrounding yourself with, and not just that you don't know better, you're not allowing yourself to imagine anything bigger than where you are. And it's not purposefully. It's not because I went to college with this young lady, and her and her sister, they grew up in an environment that wasn't ideal. And she went one way and her sister went another way, meaning she went for education, she went this. And it wasn't for anything purposefully that guided her. It was the way she saw her life and what she dreamed of. And if you're not dreaming, if you're not imagining anything but what you're seeing, then you're not moving forward in that direction. You're okay where you are. And I remember just being okay. I remember that. And it wasn't because I didn't want it, it's just that I didn't see it. I couldn't imagine it. And that's a big thing, not being able to imagine or see anything bigger than what's in front of you, even though you know it's there. But at what point in your life does it switch? Is it that light bulb moment or is it exhaustion? I think sometimes it's exhaustion.
Pain before the upgrade.
Yes. Yes. And it's unfortunate that it has to be that way. But I don't think that it's the worst thing in the world because it depends on how we choose to think about it. I believe that it's all learning, it's all part of your purpose.
What role do you think shame and guilt plays in the upgrade after the feelings of pain?
Shame, hmm, it doesn't play a part in it with the upgrade because now you recognize that you see it for what it is. It's those factors that hold you back. It keeps you from allowing yourself to move forward. But when you're stuck in it and you can't see anything, all you can see is that shame and that guilt. But being able to look past it and to call it out for what it is. I've had shame, I've had guilt. And as long as I didn't say it out loud, as long as I didn't allow myself to embrace it and let it run through my body, I stayed there. It stayed on me in weight. It stayed on me mentally. It kept me from stepping out into who I really was supposed to be because God forbid the rest of the world saw it. But once I stopped worrying about everything and that shame, because I didn't know, it wasn't about me. I made that about everyone else's thoughts and feelings. Now it's about me and my thoughts and my feelings. And if I'm okay with it, that's none of your business. I don't care.
I've seen people struggle with that. Like Emily mentioned this, Samantha, where the judgment of others hurts more than the judgment of them from themselves. And they feel shame thinking, well, if I make these changes, what if my current group, maybe as toxic and chaotic as they are, maybe what if they don't like me anymore? Because I'm good enough for them in my state currently, even though I don't like it. But the new group that I see over there that have done the work, that are happy with themselves, that are doing the things that you shared, Samantha, they're like, what if I'm not worthy for them? Do people battle with self worth when it comes to finding their place in the world?
Yes, they do. I wanted to say I had a client who was battling with that because it was easier to stay here even though she wasn't happy anymore than it was for her to move forward. But not until we started understanding that those were her thoughts that she was having about being accepted. And what didn't you want people to see about you, these new people? What was so comfortable with the old people, even though you weren't happy? What was it their feelings of about you that kept you stuck, that kept you not wanting to move, that made you mad and miserable more important than where you wanted to go? And what makes you think other people don't have feelings, thoughts, struggles to get where they're going to be? But sometimes if we yield and we allow and step into it and those doors open for us, that's when we're able to step in and see that all the things we had self-doubt about because of a thought that had us feeling anxious, that had us shame, that had us feeling as if we weren't worthy to. And we all both know, you and I, that worth comes from the day that you were born. But understanding That shame that we carry that's not allowing us keeps you stuck and in the place where people are comfortable. But where do you give comfort? To yourself. Where do you see you? And if you can imagine it, you can do it. So that means letting go of what everybody else is thinking about you. But it takes time. Let's not get it twisted. It's not overnight. Like, yeah, but being take one step at a time. Walk through one door at a time. And learning that everyone when you allow yourself to trust yourself that is something bigger on the other side, you're going to see that everyone else has had their own little drama, their own situations. And that's what community is for. That's part of the healing process.
For those who struggle with self-worth, maybe they didn't receive it in maybe they didn't receive it in in an unconditional way as a child or even in their adult life. What are some of the ways that they can understand self-worth within themselves?
Okay, so self-worth, people get self-worth, self-love, self-care all mixed up. Worth is that day that you was born into this world, that you get anything and you can go after anything. You're worth anything that this world has. Just by you were born worthy. Day one. It wasn't an environment, it's not a place, it's not a person that belongs anymore or have anything more than you. That's the first thing to understand. But that self-love and that self-care, this is where it all gets twisted and it gets all mangled up in everyone's mind. Your self-love. Love is when you support yourself, give yourself, show up for you, believe in you. When you ride for you, when you stand 10 toes down for you, when you no longer allow those negative thoughts that come into your mind, and it's normal because that's especially if you never understood love to creep back in and to show up and to tell you that you're not supposed to or you can't because of, you learn to say, hey, I understand that's what happened then, but this is where I am now. You learn to talk to yourself better. You learn to believe in yourself. You stop allowing those band-aids of self-care, meaning the spa days. Ladies, us overspending money to buy our happiness when you can have some money in the bank. Trust me, I've been there. Trust me. And knowing that is not the love. Because when you start loving yourself, you know your worth. You know your value. You're no longer seeking validation outside of yourself. So having that understanding and that distinction between all three of those is going to allow people to truly show up for themselves. You get to talk nice, and you might not have gotten it as a child. Some people think if they have two parents, one parent, whatever, however, your parent might have been working so hard and all they knew how to do was care because they was hustling. They was working them 12, 13, 16, 18 hours that you and I were talking about earlier. And all they did was buy and give. So you think that's what love is. Or you have that parent that always, hey, or that teacher or that aunt that said, hey, you can do anything. Let me tell you all the things that's in what I call your brag bag. That, hey, your receipts, you're smart, you're intelligent, you're this, you're that. They giving it to you. They showing you who you are. That's a different type of love. So you have to, as a human being, as an adult, learn how to understand what love is and what care is. And then again, that's going to align you with your worth. I know I said a lot right there.
I love it because it takes me into understanding why people struggle with that. And you mentioned brag bag. Take us through that. Is that something everyone has?
Honey, you have it. You just don't know you have it. A brag bag. I created the brag bag. The brag bag is for every human on this world. The things that when we're sad, when we're hurt, when we don't think we're able, when we're looking for someone to stand for us instead of us standing for ourselves, we reach into our brag bag and we pull out our receipts. Not just with your accolades in it, but those days that, hey, I allowed myself to rest without guilt. The days that when you're on a team with other people, and I supported my team by giving them the pep talk that they needed. All those things line you in. For a woman, we always got a bag. And I notice men, y'all carry bags all the time too. So let's put it out there. In the lining of your bag, that's where all your receipts are. So when you're going through and you're sad or you're not understanding what's going on in your world and you need that boost to be like, hey, this is it, you grab that. You look on the inside of it. And that's what allows you to put your boundaries in your place. That zipper and your strap that you wear on your have it over there, that's what's going to carry you. That's holding you down. So having that brag bag in place at all times. And it doesn't have to be a big one. It could be small, but the lining is so thick of all the things. So you can't be wavered in belief in yourself. See, that's that self-love again. It creates all of it.
For those who, because I agree with you when it comes to being worthy from the day you've entered this world. The day you're born, you are worthy of peace, of happiness. You're just worthy of because you're existing,
Right.
right? For those who struggle with that and go out and try to find their worth through, let's say, other things, such as a job, another person, why do you think people place so much value or worth in those things and not in themselves?
Because a lot of time that's what we was taught. You think about validation. You want to be a good boy or a good girl. That's what we told from day one. Oh, that was so good. You made mommy or daddy so happy. Oh my goodness. This is what we know. We don't know how to be good humans just for ourselves. And I think that's the change and that's the shift in this world that's happening now. People are learning to look at themselves and not look for everyone else. And anyone that's still showing up and looking for validation hasn't taken the time to look inside. And it's not a bad thing. I just want everyone to know that it's not a bad thing, it's an unknown thing. And when you take the time to understand that it's you that gets to be first. It's you that get to show up for you. You don't have to ask Mike, Bill, John, or Job, Jane to say that you're good. You have to know. That's why that brag bag is so important. That's what's going to keep you from running this rat race and bending yourself and stretching yourself to the point where there is no return or to the point where you have to rebuild you because you're always going to be chasing. You're always going to be looking for something instead of allowing yourself to be. And when you allow yourself to be, you walk different, you talk different, you show up different. And I think I've said it before because I still believe it. It allows me to walk from the back to the front. Me as a woman in a male dominated industry, I worked in trades for 25 plus years and I am unwavered and I am unmoved because I know the value that I bring. So I am not looking for them to say, Samantha, good job. And I remember when I used to look for other people to speak up for me. But knowing what I bring and knowing that I don't have to go in fidgeting, oh my God, are they going to accept me? Allows me to show up that I don't care if they accept me or not. I own this. It is my birthright to be here because I'm worth it. Secondly, I know what I'm doing. Third, I love myself enough. And guess what? After I show up here, I'm going to go sit down somewhere and rest and have a good cup of tea.
Is showing up in a positive way, either at work or in romantic relationships, difficult for women to do as they get older, or it is always maybe, or is it something else?
I don't think it's easier or is hard or easy. I think it's a human thing. Us allowing and knowing ourselves and being able to communicate what we want. But we all have been conditioned to think that it's a place here and a place there, what we're supposed to do. And if you don't meet someone that is like minded and be able to have the open conversations of, I don't have a place and you don't have a place, we're in this together. Of course, it's always going to be difficult. Do I find challenges with dating, being in a relationship with women that are in male dominated industries? Yes, because at some point you're always having to show up assertive, you're always having to show up ready, and some days taking that off and laying it to the side, even though we say we going to, it causes you to step back into your regular life with that same attitude, but you have to show up that way. So being able to understand that you get to pause and take a breath, and that's what having a good person in your life, having him, she, whomever you're with, to understand you. And I don't think we give each other as human beings enough. We go by what society says. We go by the norms and traditions and all the things. You know what a norm and a tradition is? It's something that we've done over and over and over again. So, us as women walking into a relationship, being able to distinguish the two, sometimes it can get a little convoluted and cause a whole bunch of rigmarole going on in your life. But being able to step back and take a breath and realize, hey, this is what happened. This is what's happening. Now let's work it out. Let's talk about it. Communication is so important.
Communication is something I wish everyone understood that they're not necessarily taught. And the reason why I share that is we're taught how to speak. I can form words at a very young age, but communicating my emotions, my mental state, my spiritual state, like what I want, seems to be something a lot of people struggle with. They can go into a job, deliver a presentation, and it's fantastic, and leave that boardroom and be like, you know what? I know I did a good job. Take that same person, put them in their home for them to communicate their feelings, and they freeze.
Yeah, that's that fear. That fear of wanting to be accepted, loved, liked, not wanting to cause no problems, not sure of the outcome because we're not being open and honest with ourselves or our mates. That's what it is.
And I see maybe like high performing women. I know there's like research and stuff like that. There seems to be like a little bit of a struggle with maybe they're not, it's more a little bit more difficult for them to turn off that identity, right? Like the person that meets the deadlines, things like that. That's what appears. And I know you're giving me that screw face, but I'll share. So, what seems to be the online chatter and some of the information out there is that if you were to compare high performing women and high performing men, high performing women in general struggle a little bit more with their romantic relationships, right? On the surface. So, what some people have shared is that once they come home, some of them maybe struggle to turn it off because they're so assertive, so dominant in the workplace because in a lot of ways they have to be to stand out. Let's be honest, right? In a male dominated industry, they have to be. When they come home now, maybe they still have that same energy because they're in their masculine energy instead of in their feminine energy. What are your thoughts on the dynamic of men and women taking home their identity and it impacting their life at home?
I think that sometimes it can be hard if you don't recognize that you do that, that you don't know when you're turning it on or turning it off because we spend so many hours at a job. But your mate, your person, that person that you breathing in their face every night, looking at them like, let's keep it a buck. You know what I mean? They supposed to be able to see and understand you just as much as they want you to understand them. And I think that's a lack of understanding and respect. And of course, everybody trying to be what they think they're supposed to be for someone else, which causes more headaches and more problems instead of allowing each other to be who we are and having the open conversations, meaning like, hey, look, you doing too much today, sis. I know. No, let's talk about it. And having that, being able to say that to each other, because if you're so afraid that the person might snap, but backing up a little bit from each other and giving each other that grace, we're getting away from giving each other grace and giving each other love and showing up. That means that it's not always going to be a good day. And I'm not always going to walk in here and I done had a battle all day. And these cats is saying to me, listen, you ain't a boss. You not this and you not that. And I have to be more assertive. I have to give more directives. So it's like anything, is any man turning it off immediately? But when you come home, meaning men in general, we're supposed to understand. We're supposed to give grace. We're supposed to say it's going to be all right. So that means being properly yoked with the right person that's going to see you and know what you need just as much as we know, because that's what women have always been told to be: nurturers, carers. We're always supposed to be and be doing and showing up as. And that's exhausting. When is someone going to show up and give us? Again, societal norms, traditions. This is what it's always been, and this is what I saw in my house. So she, even though she working just as hard, even though I was out there lifting, even though I was out there grinding, even though I was out there with a hard hat and steel toe boots and my pinky toe hurt, you gonna tell me you don't have no grace for me? But I'm supposed to understand that you would need some. Get out of here. So it's about being able to communicate and laugh and babe, you doing too much. You want me to cook tonight or you want to go out? If he can't cook, you want to go out? Like you need a glass of wine, a little soda, whatever you need. Let's understand it together. Showing up for each other as human beings.
It's like the woman who's a CEO coming home to her partner or her boyfriend who's unemployed, and he's like, "Honey, what's for dinner?"
Exactly. Like what? What you been doing all day? I know you ain't gonna get no job, so stop playing. So
We're laughing, but that's the reality for a lot of women. And when I see it, and when I speak to the women that I work with through the various charities, when they do that, I ask them this simple question: when you walk through the door after a hard day work and you see your partner there on the sofa in their underwear with stains of breakfast on their shirt, what are your first thoughts? And they all share to me, Terrain, I am too stunned to speak.
you know what? As you say that, and they're too stunned to speak, but why? I always wonder that why. Why are you too stunned to ask the question? Why are you too stunned to say, yo, I'm not feeling that you're still here looking like this? Why? You know what I mean? Like when you really think about it, why aren't we having those conversations? Why aren't we saying the things that's on our hearts and on our minds? Is it fear that it will upset them, that you won't have anybody? It's that old thing. It's better to have a piece of man than a whole man. Or vice versa when it comes to a man that's just holding on because it's easier. Or I don't want to give up because you're afraid of paying child support or paying alimony, but you're staying in things that no longer make you happy. But if I leave what I have left, what if you don't leave and you lose yourself? So these are the things. I always want to know why. Just to hear it, be like, what? For real? And I'm a why. So I'm going to ask because I wish people would have asked me why years earlier, not even in relationships, but just in life. Because that why really allows you to get curious about yourself, curious about what you're doing. You might not be able to truly understand your why, but it does open up doors for you to step differently and to make better decisions.
I think the why is a question they already have the answer to, but once it's spoken into reality, they have to address it. And once they address it, they're going to realize that they're enabling it to a degree. And maybe there could be a little bit of, oh my, I'm going to feel guilt. I've enabled this. This person isn't on my social level. And let's be very honest, ladies and gentlemen, there is no shame in saying that because I know people feel ashamed that, well, Terrain, I could date someone that sweeps floors. I'm like, yeah, if they're a nice person, they treat you well. Absolutely. But there has to be a balance. And I think too many people, and I'll say this, women specifically, since we're talking about women, I think women have gone too long being imbalanced when it comes to work, when it comes to the relationships, because they're trying to, a lot of women are trying to satisfy everyone. And when you try to satisfy everyone, you satisfy no one. What are your
Exactly.
thoughts?
Exactly. We don't satisfy anyone, especially ourselves. And if you're not satisfying you first and foremost, then everything else is imbalanced. So you definitely not helping anyone. So learning that, how to satisfy you first, to figuring out again, here we go back to this, why am I doing this for them or am I doing this for me? Am I doing this because I was supposed to be or because I want to? Don't give ourselves enough choices and we're full of them. We have a choice in this world that we don't allow ourselves to believe we should. because that's not what we was told. That's not the examples we were given. Have we settled? Yeah. Who hasn't settled because they didn't know better? But I've been talking about this a lot. I had a coach, one of my coaches, she said this to me years ago, and I still live by it today. I will disappoint everyone around me before I disappoint myself. And in knowing that means that you're not settling. You're not okaying it just to okay it. And sometimes you may sacrifice. Let's not get it twisted. People sacrifice. It's part of life and making decisions for you, but it's not to the detriment of you. When it's to the detriment of you, then that's the problem. But being able to say, you know what, I'm not going to spend this $10 because I'm going to save it because I'm going to buy this over here. This is going to allow me to expand my business, my mind. This is going to keep the heat on and the lights on. Understanding that is different from sacrificing your happiness, your wholeness, your truth. And standing in your truth is the key because that's when you treasure yourself. And knowing you is the key. But when you don't know you and you're filled with layers of society, layers of what your ancestors told you, there's no way you can't feel anything but guilt and shame when you show up differently than what everyone else around you thinks you are.
Samantha, then what would you say are some of the benefits of women living a balanced life with the pursuit of happiness being the goal?
Mm, I like that question. Say it again.
I'll say it one more time for the people in the back.
Y'all heard
You heard him?
him?
What are some of the benefits to women in creating a balanced life in the pursuit of happiness?
Okay, now that it's real clear, it's about you. Again, I keep saying it, getting to know you. Once you get to know you, then you're going to allow yourself to be more open to receive what you didn't know you even wanted or needed in your life. You are going to say, hey, this is 8 hours is enough for me. Listen, this relationship is no longer serving me. Oh, I need a friend, or I have levels in my life. I have first row, second row, third row, and I place everyone where they're supposed to be very honest. And that's what having that balanced life allows you to do, where you're not depending and having tantrums as adults because other adults can't give you what you need because you're able to give you what you need first. Being able to say, you know what? Okay, this first row is my riders. This my squad, this my team. But even though I have that team, everyone is not there for everything. Everyone gives me a piece of what they can. Then my second row, then my third row. And learning that allows you to balance and prepare properly. Are you gonna have people that's gonna pray for you, people that's gonna have your back, people that's gonna party with you? Yes, you are. But knowing that and that you don't need everyone for everything and you need you. That's where your balance comes in.
I like that because I was imbalanced for a long time in my life. And that's when I was people pleasing. It was about everybody else but myself. And I think sometimes what we miss is some people think people pleasing is only family and friends. I was like, no, I was people pleasing at work. I was missing things because of deadlines. I was sacrificing parts of myself for deadlines. I was sacrificing myself for other people. And people forget like it's people pleasing, yes, but it could be company pleasing, it could be event pleasing. You're pleasing the world but yourself.
Yes.
How can we then identify what is causing us to be so imbalanced in our life?
We identify that by again stopping. If it's causing you and understanding that feeling, we have feelings. When your heart is heavy, when you anxious, when you're nervous about things not working out, not and when it has to do with someone else, making someone else unhappy, basically being codependent. Hello, I'm Samantha Harris. I was a codependent person. And understanding that my happiness was attached to making someone else happy. making your job satisfied more than you are satisfied. And I know that it's SOPs we all have to follow. I know that there's different policies and deadlines, but at the end of the day, was that for a reward for you more than your paycheck? Was that for a data boy? Terrain, you amazing. Yes. You know what I mean? Was it for that? Was it you overextending yourself for a friend because you were hoping that they see you and it go, and I know this, women, we do it all the time, just in case. Just in case what? Just in case you need somebody, just in case something don't work out, you want somebody to have you. What if everything works out? So you're just holding on to certain things and certain people for what? Instead of allowing yourself to be free. So now you are again being what do you call that? You're people pleasing just for the sake of for something for you. So are you really being true? Are you being authentic? So we have to figure that out. Where is it coming from? And understanding, why do I need this person? Why am I throwing a temper tantrum if I can't show them that I'm a great person? Are they still going to have my back? We have to learn to ask ourselves, what are we looking for? What is our end game in all of this? Because a lot of times we don't allow ourselves to recognize what we doing and why we doing it.
What role then do you think maybe fear and loneliness plays when someone's trying to be authentic and is taking away them from people?
If they never been alone before, if they don't know what they're doing when they are alone, of course it plays the biggest part because I'm scared. What if no one ever be with me? What if no one ever's gonna love me? What if no one ever's gonna want to go to dinner with me? What I suggest is, honey, get to know you, honey, and go sit at the bar and have a drink. Somebody's gonna talk to you. What I'm gonna tell you is really this is real life. We can pretend like, oh, people don't get lonely, people don't get sad, and then give too much of themselves just to accept and have something. But if we get to know who we are as human beings and we get to know that it's okay to go to a show by ourselves, to take in a movie, and I know, and ladies, I know y'all don't want to go sit at the booth by yourself and eat, but so what? Who cares? Go sit at the booth and eat by yourself. Go to the, and you ask me. I'm telling you, I do it. I have no problem. Go to the bar and eat. People at the bar talk a lot. Go to the restaurant and sit down and just enjoy your meal. If you go to the supermarket, have the conversations or learn to join a club. Learn what your interests are and then join a club. And yes, it's okay to do it by yourself. It's not, listen, I promise you it's okay. Go to the spa by yourself. Entertain you because you continuously accepting people that are not where you want to be. And I like to say it nicely like that. But is never going to satisfy you. And you're going to always run to please someone else. You're always going to look for that validation, always looking for hope in someone else, allowing your dreams to be attached to your hope that they'll support you. But when you show up for you, when you believe in you, I promise you, that's when doors open and shifts open. And that's where you're going to meet your forever people. People that you meet online, that you've never met in person, that's going to pray for you, have your back, put you in places and say your names in rooms that you've never thought you would be in. So trusting that process is the key.
First time I went to dinner by myself, I had those same thoughts you just mentioned. So I made sure I had my dress pants on, dress shoes, nice shirt. It looked like I was going on a date, but I was taking myself. Because in my mind, Samantha, I was like, everyone's gonna look at me because I'm by myself. I got to that restaurant, nobody cares.
No one cares about you like that. You in your mind, what it's craziness. The thoughts that we have that control our feelings and our emotions and how we show up, where we make up all these scenarios. And I write it down, people. When you're having all these things in your mind and in your heart, write it down on a piece of paper because it's bigger in your brain than it is on paper. I promise you that. And once you get it out, it's going to allow you to process and think differently. Because what make you think you so important, like you Jesus, that you gonna walk into a restaurant, everybody gonna be like, oh, they're by themselves. They must don't
Who's
have a
that?
friend. Yes.
You know, looking around. Is that a celebrity? I'm like, you're nobody. Like you're
Yes.
somebody to you, right? Let's get it. Let's
Yes.
get it straight, right? Love yourself because you're somebody to you. You're your own celebrity.
Yes.
But when you go out into the world, you're just
No one.
somebody else.
That's it. That is it. You just there, just like everybody else, just living your life. And if we start living our lives for ourselves instead of what everyone is looking at or we're perceiving, because that's what it is, a perception of what everyone else is thinking and feeling about us. You know how bigger your world will become when you stop worrying about everyone else's thoughts and feelings and worry about yours?
Samantha, let me ask you one final question. I want to give you three wishes as I do this, as we
Three?
close.
Okay.
Three. What are three things you wish people knew about creating their authentic self and why?
Three things. I wish they knew that it's okay to be themselves, that it's beautiful on this other side once you get here. And being present with yourself is a win that will come